Hey, this is AV Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com. In this review, I will be highlighting the special features and other notables of the electronic U.S.S. Enterprise set from the 2009 feature film, Star Trek. This latest incarnation of the classic design from the 1960s is actually meant to be a mishmash of both the one from TOS, the original series, which was designed by Matt Jeffries, may he rest in peace, and the redesign which appears in Star Trek the Motion Picture in 1979, which was primarily designed by Andy Probert. You'll be seeing these traits as we go along. If you're a well-versed Trekkie, you'll be able to see these traits right off the bat. On with the show. The Enterprise comes with a full ABS stand on a ball and socket joint, which is awesome. You can tilt this thing. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You have to be careful how far you tilt it, but you can tilt it. It's a very generous stand. I was surprised at how flexible, and not only that it's actually ball and socket capable, but it's so flexible that it's actually capable of holding the Enterprise in any position that you put it in. That's pretty awesome. I like that. That's good. But anyways, so you know about the stand. There's not really much that I can say, because there aren't really a lot of moving features on here. Well, actually, there aren't any moving features on here. You'll just have to look at the pictures that I took on the text review on CollectionDX.com. Some of them I took great pains to get. For example, I usually don't talk about the reviews that I write, but trying to get that impulse engine was a very difficult thing to shoot. So rest assured I put a good deal of effort into it. One of the nice little nods I like here is that while the buzzard ram scoops, yes, they're actually called ram scoops. Yes, they're actually called buzzard ram scoops because that's not just a Star Trek terminology. Even though the warp nacelles are rounded, again, nacelle is not a Star Trek only term, even though the nacelles are rounded in forward profile, well, and in back profile, they're actually divided down the center there. They're spliced down the middle, just like the TMP versions are. So right there is a combination of TMP and TOS right there. Nerd. This feature here and here are from TOS, whereas the bridge section, the phaser arrangements, the navigational dish are reminiscent of the TMP version. The navigational dish, thankfully, makes a return. In the movie, it actually does. This is a little feature that I liked. I didn't notice it the first time I saw it in the theaters, by the way. It actually extends outward and contracts backwards, and like the little veins will actually open and close to make it bigger or smaller. So it can be, gold-like and extended like it is in TOS, and then it can be blue and retracted like it is in TMP. That's pretty awesome. The photon torpedo launcher used to be, for TMP, encompass the entire base of the neck, but now it's just this tiny little tab sitting up the front here, which goes to show you how big this ship actually is. They've literally doubled the size of the Enterprise for the 2009 movie. She's about 2,300 feet long, as opposed to the size of an aircraft carrier, which is about, I don't know, like 700 or 800 feet long. I don't have the number in front of me. Please don't send hate mail. So this ship is frickin' huge. Another way that they express this in the movie is that the shuttle bay back here, not only were the doors kind of redesigned so they'd open up in different ways, but there's the TOS and the TMP versions, because the ship was only about the size of an aircraft carrier, a modern day aircraft carrier. There was only about 2 levels to the shuttle bay. Well, this new version has 5 or 6 levels sitting in there, which makes, this ship is friggin' huge. This thing, okay, by comparison, this newest incarnation would be about the size of the Enterprise D. No, it's about the size of the Enterprise D, which is about 2,000 feet long, or, 700. No. Yeah, whatever. I'm geeking out. I apologize. I'm going to do that. The pylons the wings here, again, not a Star Trek term, not only a Star Trek term, geek. In TOS, they were straight, rectangular, whatever, and then in TMP, they actually tilted, they angled backwards and got wider as they got further away from the secondary hull. But no incarnation of the original Enterprise, so like the TOS and TMP versions, they had straight pylons. This one actually has curved pylons, which is just, it's just a little nod. The TMP version had ribbed sections along both the inside and the outside, which, the warp energy came out of there. It actually glowed on the inside versions. But what they did here as kind of a tribute or whatever, and this actually caught me by the surprise, I didn't know it, here it is, those same grilled sections along the bottom, which is pretty cool. I like that. Again, vents from TMP, which didn't appear on TOS. However, they have the panel line or whatever is on the inside like they did with TOS. I mean, the tributes and the designs just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I could go all day. What makes a nice return there, which never appeared again in any incarnation of the Enterprise after TOS, was the nozzles back here. You never saw like exhaust or fire or anything like that come out of the engines, even the impulse engines. You never saw anything come out of them. Well, they kind of sort of brought it back, and in the movie, these vents actually glow in the movie when she's at warp speeds. And the impulse engine actually, like the glowing, actually stops when she's at warp speed, which I thought that was awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, how long have I been waiting for them to figure that one out? They always kept it on. I never got that. The buzzard ram scoops in TOS and Next Generation and the movies, usually, there's lights that are spinning around on the inside, whatever. For the toy, unfortunately, the lights do not spin, but they do turn on and off. The lights, you say? What? This toy has lights? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this toy has lights. Let's have a view, shall we? Space. Final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Arm phases, fire everything we got. Captain, engineering reports ready for launch. Maneuvering thrusters, Mr. Smith.
One of my biggest complaints with this toy in particular is that these LEDs that they place in here, yeah, it's great that they're bright, but the problem is you've got light soaking through the plastic all over the place. It's impossible not to avoid it. There's nowhere on this toy where there isn't some kind of light leaking out whenever those LEDs go off. So it's nice it's got LEDs, but I think the plastic is thin enough, or it's light colored enough, it just soaks right through it. So that's one of the bigger complaints. While the top of the saucer section has lines that indicate the deflector grid, supposedly, unlike all other incarnations, there are no lines, along the sides or along the warp nacelles or anything like that. But that's not my problem. My problem is, yeah, there are plenty of visible lines on the toy which shouldn't really be there. Now, ordinarily, fitting parts together, that's a challenge enough as it is. But there's some pretty shoddy work going here. You can see, well, not on camera, but you can see there's lines. They're just kind of all over the place. There's a paint mark, or there's a glue mark right there, like some glue leaked out. I will give props to Playmate Toys, by the way. The saucer section and the bottom of the secondary hull are the only places on the toy where you actually see screws. There are no screws whatsoever in the warp nacelles or the pylons. However, that comes at a bit of a cost, because you've got, I don't know, I don't think it's, yeah, in fact I know it's not going to show up very well. the lines here are just not, they're just not clean lines anywhere around here. It's particularly bad right here. The other thing I want to point out is the paint applications. For instance, this is a panel which has, this is a raised panel, this is a raised panel, raised, kind of sort of raised right there. In the raised sections of the toy, the painting is fine, painting is clear. What bothers me is the undefined painted areas, such as here, these two lines. They're so light. Like you kind of expect the toy to be all white, judged on the packaging, but you know, it's this kind of light gray coloring, whatever. But then they add. You would expect some kind of a gray. You expect the gray line along here. And by the way, this line was not applied very cleanly there. You can see where the masking was taken off. That's pretty annoying. Even though there's, you know, notably dark gray, but there's also, I'll say, normal gray lines all over the place. These normal gray lines are so subtle and match in so easily with the coloring of the plastic that it almost looks like, you know, somebody just didn't paint it correctly or something. So it's nice to have the highlights, but it's so pale that you can't really tell the difference, and as I described it in the text review, it looks like an accident. Now there are exceptions, of course, there, but you know, areas like that, underneath in the cell there's more glue right there, they're just not, it's just not well done. It's not very clean. About the only clean applications you get are the lettering, and actually these windows along the side here, although the windows across there. And that's it. That's really the only clean stuff that they added after the molding that actually works. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is insane right here. Look at this smudge right here. It doesn't appear on camera. That's a fingerprint. That's a painted fingerprint in there, like a worker. Like he smudged it. Now it's either a fingerprint or he was using a piece of cloth or something like that. But how did the quality control guys miss that? I mean, I caught it straight out of the box. WTH. Now the other thing that bothers me is aside from the fact that the light bleeds through everything, they actually got some of their lighting wrong. Like you've got the warp engines flashing when the weapons are going off, but then when she goes to warp, you know, was it Captain Engineering reports we are ready for warp speed, and then the impulse engine goes off. I mean, what the hell's up with that? You know, it should be these lights back here, which, by the way, I think it's cool that these vents right here light off. That's cool. I like that. But that's a design thing from, you know, the ILM guys. So I thought that the lighting could have been reworked a little bit. One thing I wish they could have done, though, was why don't you guys put like a miniature LED or even paint up that torpedo launcher? That would have been nice. Why don't you guys highlight the glass view screen? I mean, why not do that? While they do it on the top, and I'll show you. Oh yeah, by the way, the activation button is the bridge. Now here's what I like, and this was introduced in TMP. The lights which shine out across the hull, so that kind of an anti-collision lights or whatever it is. Which, by the way, they don't have the red or the green lights anywhere on here. It's just the ship. While they've got those lights up here, and even two additional ones here and here. I mean, they're flat, so they don't really reflect anything. By the way, did you see the light leaking through there? While that's cool on top there, the only thing that lights down here...
Maneuvering thrusters, Mr. Sidley.
Oh yeah, by the way, maneuvering thrusters and the warp engines light up. Go fig. The thing that bothers me, though, is even though the dome lights up, it's supposed to, the hull lighting doesn't light up. on the toy. Like, they did it on the top, but they didn't do it on the bottom. That's a little inconsistent. I didn't like that. I've given my opinions on the toy. Paintwork, moldings, shoddy. Fingerprint, really bad. You can see glue, really bad. The print stuff, that's the only good thing on it. But it does recreate the ship rather faithfully. Like, the detail stuff on here, yeah, okay, that's fine. I am no longer going to be unbiased from this moment on in the video. I am no longer a CDX reviewer. I am now a fan. I am now a Trekker making comment. So if you've seen your fill of this toy and me going on and on and on, go ahead, watch the blooper at the end of the credits, and go about your merry. For those of you who are choosing to stay around, I'm going to make this comment is directed at Industrial Light and Magic. It's directed at J.J. Abrams, Bad Robot Productions, and Paramount Pictures, because they're the ones who put this thing together in the movie. So I'm commenting on the movie now, not the toy. The toy merely reflects what's on the screen. My opinion's already been given on that. I am not one of those people who declared death to Michael Bay just because he put flames on Optimus Prime, okay? I was not one of those people. If you want to tweak something a little bit from a classic or an original design, if you do it carefully, you do it tastefully, I won't complain. In this case, I think this is a good design. I like what they came up with. The sheer scale of the ship, I mean 5 or 6 levels and this tiny little torpedo, like that right there tells you how big this ship actually is. The torpedo launcher and the shuttle bay really give you the scale of the ship. That's pretty awesome. I mean, this thing is the size of the Enterprise E, which was over 700 meters long. This is also 700 meters long. Ponage. I have never stuck my nose up at any Enterprise design, save for the Akira Prize. I've never stuck my nose up at it. Never. TOS, TMP, Next Generation, movies, none of them. I've never stuck my nose up at them. This, however, it's getting a little nod. And I've never nodded at an Enterprise. Even the Enterprise D, which was very, very front-heavy and very kind of limp along the back with those tiny warp nacelles, okay? Like, that's still a cool design. I love it. But something here, and I don't know why, it's just kind of screwy, it just kind of makes it look weird. I was able to shoot this, the video, and the still photos from any angle, and it looks fine. It looks just like the classic Enterprise shape. You know, it's got 2 long pods, a big one here, and then it's got a big flying saucer sitting on the front. All classic elements from the 60s. What bothers me, though, is one of the transition parts that they made. You know, I love all the mishmashing that they did between the TMP and the TOS versions. But one thing really, 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 really bugs me. And I'll come right to the point here. The neck is too far back on the secondary hull. And I'm about to switch to Trek jargon here, so forgive me. The navigational deflector array, like, I love how that thing opens, closes, bigger, smaller. That's great. I love that. I think that was awesome. That's a great thing they did. But what really bugs me is how much space there is between the navigational array and the neck. Like, look at that gap right there. That's huge. It's like there's a, I don't know, it's like the Enterprise has got a giant wart on the front there or something. Maybe not a wart. That's kind of extreme, but like, I have no problem with the shape of the secondary hull, and I have no problem with the shape of the neck or where it ends up or anything like that. And like I said, it's just, there's something in the back of my head that says this is wrong, this doesn't look right. Is the neck, it starts too far back along the secondary hull. I mean, it's got that huge gap right there. If I were in charge of the special effects department at Industrial Light and Magic, if it were up to me, this would be one case where I would say to hell with continuity. Because, hey, they did it with the Enterprise E between Insurrection and Nemesis, you know. I would say break continuity. You don't have to make light of it. You don't even have to draw attention to it in the next movie. But what I would suggest is take that neck and pull it forward a little. I'd say just in front of this line right here. This line across the top of the hull here. this very fine separation line on the toy, I'd say bring it just ahead of that. You could have a little space in there and then have your dish right there. I have no problem with that. I mean, hell, the Enterprise A had it, the TOS version had it. I have no problem with that. It's just there's a little too much gap there. It just makes it seem heavy, and the end result of that is that it comes way too close to the nacelles. I mean, I can't even stick my finger in there. That's how small that gap is in there. And what will happen is, once that saucer section pulls forward to about here, I would say, it's gonna open up the gap. So it's about to this first line here is where it would end up. Once that's taken care of, you could actually widen these nacelles just a little bit. Like, I have no problem whatsoever with them curving outward like that. I have no problem with the shape of the pylon. I have no problem with that. That's good. It's different. It's an alternate timeline. It's supposed to be interesting. But just, widen the nacelles a little bit and pull that neck forward. You really need to do that. And so there's my little comment on the remake U.S.S. Enterprise from the 2009 film Star Trek. This is AV Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off. In this review, I will be highlighting the special features and other notables of the electronic NSEA protector set from the 2009 feature film Galaxy Quest.